apologize for the really poor sound quality in my videos lately. I got an awesome HD camera that I've been using, but the sound really sucks, so I'm really sorry. I'm talking as loud as I can, so I hope you can hear me, but you might have to turn your volume all the way up, so I'm really sorry about that. So this video is going to be the video that I've had most requested in the past year or so, because after I did my depression and anxiety video, everybody was asking me this question. I get hundreds of emails asking me this, so I figured the best way to address it is to make a video, because typing it out all the time can be a little strenuous. So this video is going to be about conquering panic attacks, and I have videos on how to kind of prevent anxiety and depression and stuff like that, but this is for like when you're in the moment and you're having a panic attack and you know, you're kind of freaking out in your head and you don't really know what to do. And this is really near and dear to my heart because I still have panic attacks, and it really frustrates me when people who have really good intentions, like I tell them about my panic attacks and stuff, and they're like, oh, just think about something else, or oh, don't worry about it. And it's like, well, I am worried and I can't stop thinking about it, and when I'm in that moment, it's really difficult to just be like, yeah, forget it. And only people who have had panic attacks can truly understand how difficult it is to kind of overcome that. So I just wanted to first put it out there and say that I understand where you're coming from, and these are just my suggestions. They work for me, they may not work for you. I just wanted to give you guys ideas on how you can, you know, try to get over panic attacks, but everybody's different, and I know how difficult it is, so it's not like, oh, do all these things and you won't have panic attacks anymore. You know, this is something that has to be learned. It's a skill that a lot of people don't have, and I don't even have. I mean, it works sometimes, but sometimes, you know, you're just gonna have a panic attack, and that's just the way it is sometimes. So I'm hoping that these techniques can kind of help you through it. So although I do have videos on preventing panic attacks, I just kind of wanted to go into triggers first. It's really important to know your triggers so that you can kind of prevent panic attacks from even happening in the first place. For example, my triggers are if I have too much caffeine, if I don't get enough sleep, or if I'm like taking a test or in a high stress situation, I'm pretty much guaranteed to get a panic attack. So it's really important to know your triggers so that, you know, you can get more sleep. You cannot drink 4 cups of coffee before, you know, you go to work or school. And these things will just kind of diminish the chance of you having a panic attack. Also, when I feel trapped in a situation, like I can't get out, like for example, most of my panic attacks either happen in a classroom or when I'm on the subway because I feel super trapped. And most of the people I've talked to either get panic attacks because they feel trapped or because they're panicking about having a panic attack. So I'm kind of coming from the perspective of, you know, you kind of feel trapped, and, you know, sometimes if it's really hot somewhere, you know, you can kind of feel like everything's closing in. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys the background on where I'm coming from with that. So finally, 3.5 minutes in, I'm going to get to my kind of tips. So these are for when you're having a panic attack. And my first one is identify the exits, especially if you're the type of person that feels trapped. So like if I'm on the subway, for example, and I'm just starting to freak out, I'll say to myself, okay, look, Kayla, you can get off at the next stop. It might cost you $2 to get back on the subway, and you might be late for wherever you're going, but you are in control and you can get off if you need to. You know, just giving yourself back that control and thinking, I can get out, I can do this, instead of, oh my God, I'm stuck here, there's nothing I can do. It can feel very daunting at times, so giving yourself that control back can really help you kind of regain composure, and if you do that in like the early stages of your panic before your like full-blown panic attack, you might be able to kind of talk yourself out of it. For example, also if you're like in a classroom, like I like to know where all the bathrooms are, you know, before I get there, and I like to sit by the door so that if I need to get out, I can. And I know I've in the past been really self-conscious thinking, oh, like people are going to see me getting up, like it's going to be so embarrassing, but really no one's paying attention to you. But when you're in that panic mode, you're like, oh my God, everyone's going to notice, but nobody really does. Everyone's just too concerned with themselves. I mean, just think about, do you remember everyone that gets up to use the bathroom like when you're in class? Probably not. So definitely, you know, tell yourself that, you know, no one's looking at me, I can just get up and go go whenever I want. And giving yourself that option that you can get up usually helps me calm down and know that I'm not trapped and I have control over the situation. My next tip is a little creepy, but I do it all the time. If I'm starting to panic, I focus on other people. So I kind of like creep on other people. So like I'll look to the person next to me, or I'll look at the person in front of me and be like, look, like they can sit there, they can, you know, do this. There's 30 other kids in this classroom and they can all sit here and not have a panic attack. Like, look at them, they're fine, I can be fine too. So kind of comparing yourself to people and being like, look, there's nothing to be worried about. There are other people doing the same thing. There are other people in the subway. Hundreds of people, thousands, millions of people take the subway every day, and, you know, they're not panicking, everybody's fine. So just kind of reassuring myself that there's really nothing to be worried about, because if there was, everybody would be. So, kind of creeping on people, you know, helps me, and concentrating that energy onto something else, being like, look at this person, you know, she's doing her test just like I'm doing my test, like I can do this, she can do this, you know what I mean? Just kind of like putting yourself in that stranger's shoes, which is a little creepy, but it works for me. So that's definitely something that I try to do. The next thing, which is also a little weird, and these things are so weird to say because they're really personal to me, because it's things that like I'm saying to my head in like my craziest moments, so saying them out loud is a little bizarre to hear, but I like to jiggle my leg or like clench my fist really tight, and jiggling your leg isn't that weird. At first I thought like, oh my god, everyone's gonna be looking at me, but like if you just look around the classroom, like most people are doing that and they don't even know they're doing it. Like it's either a habit or it's just something that they do, which I guess is a habit. So really you're not gonna look that totally weird, but when you're having a panic attack, you have so much adrenaline because you're in that like fight or flight mode. So like releasing that energy in a jiggle or like hand clenches or something like that can definitely help release that energy, and it won't stop a panic attack, but it will make it less severe because you don't have that kind of pent up energy. So that's also something really important that I do utilize a lot. Even if I'm not having a panic attack and I'm anxious, just like jiggling around and moving around kind of helps, especially if you're in a situation when you can't, you know, sprint somewhere or do jumping jacks or, you know, whatever you need to do to get rid of that energy. Just kind of a nice leg jiggle usually does the trick. Also, if you're with another person or, you know, something like that, you can have them squeeze your hand, but I would preface that with the person that don't break my hand, because a couple weeks ago I was on the subway with my boyfriend. It was getting super, super hot, and I just felt really claustrophobic, and I was like, can you please just squeeze my hand as hard as you can? And he did, and it really hurt. And I thought my hand was broken, but it wasn't. So definitely don't tell them to squeeze it as hard as they can, and I wouldn't do this with a stranger, but just having someone else touch you, and like concentrating on that touch, if they grab your arm or just grab your hand, rather than concentrating on your own thoughts, can definitely help you kind of just focus on something else and get over that. Another thing that I do, which I know is difficult to do, but if you can concentrate intently on something, like I don't like to listen to music when I'm having panic attacks. It might help some people, but for me, the repetition is like overstimulating. So I like to listen to things like podcasts or news things if I can have my headphones in, and that definitely helps me because it gives me something else to think about. Or if you're in class or you're at work or something, try to have a conversation with someone, or, you know, try to listen really intently or ask a question or try to read something, just so you're actively engaging and you're not just sitting there thinking about yourself panicking. That's definitely important. But I know how difficult that is, believe me. Another thing is if you can, you know, talk to someone, like call someone on the phone or something like that, like having that dialogue and conversation, like I said, can really kind of snap you out of it if you're not too far gone. Something that really helps me that I've been kind of utilizing lately that I hadn't utilized before is thinking about that moment when it's over. Like you have this panic attack and your heart's really beating fast and you're really clenched and and then it just ends. And then you just feel that relief come over your entire body, and like, you know, like you can feel everything again, and you know that like you're back to yourself because you don't feel that nauseous feeling, like you feel good. Just focus on that feeling and know that you're going to have that feeling, that it is going to end, that you are going to have that relief. that's been really important to me lately because this is kind of my last tip, but I'll just kind of bring it in now. Don't, as hard as you can, try not to leave the situation. If you are sitting in class, if you are sitting in the subway, even if you have already identified your exits and know how to get out, don't. And I know this is hard, and I know you feel like you're gonna just vomit everywhere and it's gonna be so embarrassing, you're just gonna faint. But you need to prove to yourself that you can stay there and that you can get over it yourself. Because if you leave and go away, you're letting that fear win and you're letting it disable you and disrupt your life. So if you just, like, for example, if I'm taking a test and I'm freaking out in my head and I'm having a panic attack and it's awful, I just really concentrate hard and I'm telling myself, you will get over it, you will feel that relief and you will be okay, and I don't let myself get up because I used to get up and leave. And then I would be so scared to come back because I'd be so scared it was going to happen again, and then I'd have to leave again. And I would just start freaking out in my mind even more. But once I proved to myself that I can stay in that situation and I don't have to get off the subway, I don't have to leave the classroom, I can sit here and deal with it and make it shorter and make it less debilitating for myself, that proved to me that I can do it. And it's taken a long time for me to like sit there, because honestly, I used to feel panic. Next second I was gone. I left the room because I was so scared of like throwing up or like, you know, fainting, or I couldn't see right. I felt really dizzy. But once I realized that it isn't real, like I'm not really having a heart attack, like I don't really have to throw up, even though I feel like I do. It doesn't happen, and I can just sit there and I can get over it myself in my own way. So that's kind of the most important point of this whole thing. Once you can prove to yourself that you can do it, it's going to become a lot easier. Once you prove to yourself that you can overcome it, it's going to be a million times easier, I promise. And it kind of makes my last tip like really stupid because that was my final one, but unclench your jaw. And this might sound really weird, but I find that when I'm having a panic attack, I tend to like do this and I don't even realize I'm doing it because like my mouth's closed and I'm like you don't even notice. But once you release that tension and you unclench that, then you're like, like that's a little bit of relief. And then, you know, sometimes when I actively unclench my jaw, then I can kind of relax the rest of my body and then feel better. So my last tip is don't leave and prove to yourself that you can stay. So I already went over that. So those are my tips for overcoming a panic attack when you're having them. I really hope that this helped you guys. If you have any tips of your own that you use, leave them in the comment section, because you could definitely help more people. And you know, my advice might not be good for some people and your advice might work. So if you have dealt with this, definitely let me know what you've tried and I'll try it too. And if you need to talk to someone, you can always email me. My email will be in the down bar. It's woodwinkedx@yahoo.com. Or you can try to send me a message here, but YouTube messaging sucks. But yeah, so that's basically it. I really hope that this helped you guys, and I hope you guys are having a great panic-free day, and tomorrow will be better, I promise. And I can't wait to hear once you guys try some of these things. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.